Hey, what's going on, fish friends? I'm Michael with Fresh Flow Aquatics. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about stem plants, diving into the world of trimming so you can maintain a healthy, vibrant planted aquarium. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you can stay on top of all my latest tips and tricks. Let's get started. Stem plants are a really popular choice for aquascapers because they're so diverse and have the ability to create lush, vibrant underwater gardens. They come in tons of different shapes and sizes and colors, and that makes them perfect for adding depth and dimension to your planted tank. Stem plants not only look incredible, but they help keep the aquarium water clean. Because they grow so quick, they're really efficient at pulling nutrients out of the water column, which helps keep your fish healthy and algae levels low. But to keep them looking their best, regular trimming is essential. Let's look at trimming, why it's important, and how to do it properly. Trimming stem plants is crucial for several reasons. It promotes healthy growth by removing old damaged leaves and stems. It maintains the desired shape and size of your plants. It prevents overcrowding and ensures that all plants receive adequate light and nutrients. It encourages bushier growth and branching, creating a fuller, more attractive aquascape. Before we start trimming, let's make sure we have all the necessary tools. A pair of sharp, clean scissors or aquascaping shears, a container or bucket to collect trimmings, and gloves if you want. Some people like to wear gloves to protect their hands from potential irritants. Personally, I don't, but if you have some sort of skin issue or sensitive skin, then it's worth considering. Now let's get ready for trimming. Turn off any filters or pumps to prevent water movement, especially in cases where stem plants are tall and being pushed over in the current. It can be helpful to have the pump off. For trimming other types of plants like carpets or epiphytes, I don't think it's really as important. And make sure your light is on. Obviously, you don't want to start slicing and dicing your way through your tank without being able to see what you're trimming, especially if you have fish in there. Now that we're all set, let's dive into the trimming process. Here are 3 techniques to consider when trimming. 1. Identify the stems that need trimming, such as those that are too big or tall, damaged, and overcrowded. 2. For most stem plants, make a clean cut above the leaf node or branching point. This encourages new growth and branching. Basically, every time you cut a stem plant above that node, 2 new heads will sprout out within the next week or so. 3. For plants with delicate stems, you don't have to use scissors. A gentle pinching motion will do just as fine to pluck the tops off. Alright, so first things first, I've identified some problem areas, mainly being this back right-hand corner of my aquarium. You know, everywhere else is pretty well trimmed out. So I'm going to start with that and get to trimming. Really, it's a pretty straightforward process. I'm just going to get my scissors in there, pick a spot, a node in between 2 nodes, so basically where leaves are growing out of the stem, and I'm going to clip it right above 1 node. I'm going to take that plant, toss it in a bucket. I like to start in the front. That way I can work my way back and create kind of a gradual slope of the plants. You don't want the ones in the back overcrowding the ones in the front, otherwise they won't get light and they won't grow. They'll start to die and release ammonia, algae will start growing, and it'll just start a cascade of negative things from happening. So again, just get that plant. You know, this one's been pushed over because of the current. Pick a spot right there and just trim it. And so everywhere I trim, 2 heads should come out. So, you know, a plant like this, you can see I've trimmed it many times, and every time I trim it, 2 heads come out. So even though this is 1 stalk down here, it's been trimmed so many times that it's branched out, and there's probably about 10 heads. Now this is a good thing to have happen at first, but eventually these plants can get really long and leggy. You see all these roots dangling off. That's not really appealing. So what I like to do is let these plants grow like crazy, and then every now and then I'll just come back and really hack it away. So I just used my hands for this one, and I plucked it right here and pulled this whole head off. Now I'm not really concerned about this guy not bouncing back. This is orange Ludwigia. This thing grows like crazy. So, you know, eventually 2 heads will sprout from that one. By the time I'm ready to take off another big chunk, all these other little heads will have grown and split and be ready to fill in the spots that I'm clearing out. What you don't want is for those chunks to get super heavy and end up taking over the tank and blocking light out of other stem plants. So feel pretty good with that orange Ludwigia. Really only gets orange at the top, like you can see when it gets strong light. So that's another reason that you want to keep them trimmed back. Otherwise, you know, only a couple of the tallest ones that are crowding everyone else out will have enough light to turn orange. All right, now I'm going to get back into this right corner and trim out all this angustifolia, or Hydrophila angustifolia rubra. There's a lot of new stuff coming in, you know, from the bottom you can see over here, but it's not really getting that much light, so I'm going to give it a decent hack back. It's going to really allow all these new stems to come up. And again, I'm just trimming in between the nodes. That's going to cause the stems to send out 2 heads in every spot that I trim. And this whole area is going to grow back even bushier than it was before. And so I am trying to clear out some pretty heavily headed areas like this, you know, that's got maybe 10 heads sticking off of it, because I want to promote more individual stems from shooting up. It's nice to get a little bit of this activity, but too much of it will cause your tank to get overgrown with roots along the surface. And I'm also going to trim the tallest plants because I don't want them floating on the surface of the water. It looks a lot nicer when they grow just under the surface, which is kind of a constant battle, because as soon as you trim one, another takes its place along the top. And yeah, that's just the nature of the beast with stem plants. They're gorgeous, but they are a fair bit of work compared to ferns and mosses and other types of plants. Now along the front area right here, I have kind of a unique stem plant. It's Hydrophila Fida, and it's actually closely related. It's in the same genus to this one I had in the back, Hydrophila angustifolia rubra. But it's special in the fact that it doesn't, it's an epiphyte. Most stem plants like to be planted in the roots, but this guy's just growing on top of the wood. And when you trim it, unlike the other stem plants sending out 2 heads, this guy just sends out shoots everywhere. So I'm going to hack back quite a bit, take out a lot of these shoots, because they're just overgrowing this area, and it's nice to have a little bit, but you know, since they're at the top of the tank, they really have the potential to block out light for everyone else, and I do not want that happening. So just go through and trim back. I'm going to definitely get all these that are spreading into the moss. I love my moss, and don't want it taking over that, which it's already doing. And you don't even need your scissors. I'm just using my hands. Oh yeah, look at all that I pulled out from the backside. This stuff grows crazy quick. And that's all going to be competing for light with the stems behind it, the myriophyllum and the Rotala, the super red Rotala. Here we go, got rid of that. And now I'm going to make my way back to the Rotala and Myriophyllum. And unlike the other stem plants that grow really heavy on the top, these do much better just by giving them a straight trim. And they'll send out heads pretty darn quick. It's nice when all those heads are at the same level. It creates a really dense, bushy kind of carpet vibe where you can't even see the background of the tank. Whereas if I only trim the top ones, you know, this is never going to have that full lush effect that it will when I trim all of them together at the same time. In the beginning, when you set up a planted tank, you'll want to make sure to save all these clippings and replant them. But at this point, these stem plant colonies are so thick that there's really no space to shove those heads down. They wouldn't get enough light to survive, and I'll get enough growth just out of the new heads shooting up. There's really no point in planting the clippings in this tank. But I do definitely save them since I have an aquarium cleaning and design business. I'll use those heads when I set up tanks for clients, or even just to fill out existing tanks around my house. And then I've had these plants here. I'm not really sure what they are, and they haven't been doing well. I've had them for months, and they're just not doing well. So I'm going to take them out. Maybe you know what they are. They looked really pretty at the fish store, but they're just not doing well in my tank. This stem's doing okay, but yeah, I'd rather just stop messing around with them and grow something that does do well in my tank. And so I know I had mentioned earlier you can save the clippings from your stem plants and plant the heads into the substrate. And so there's very little spots that I have available, but since I just pulled out that plant that wasn't doing too well, I need to refill that with some Pogo stamen erectus heads. So basically all I'm going to do is take the heads like this and plant them in the substrate. Take my tweezers, go along, and just push them down. You know, in this one, for example, you can already see a root coming out of the base right there. That thing's going to settle in no time and start growing like crazy. And that's all I got for stem plants. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Be sure to drop a comment if you got any questions. I'll see you in the next one.